So like the problem is that if someone cues toes forward position because they hear someone say this is going to be the most effective style of squat, but then look over here now. If they cue this toes forward position and the person doesn't have the mobility to do it, then that's going to be shitty. It's going to put them in a shitty position, not the optimal position, because if they don't have the mobility to get all this stuff out, whether it's here, whether it's medial, lateral portion of the hip, whether it has to do with the knee, whether it has to do with the ankles, doesn't matter. But if they can't get the knees out, then all that shit isn't going to happen. And so if someone doesn't have the mobility and it's cued to go toes forward, and this is kind of like 10 degrees right here, and they can't do that, then their knees are not going to be able to get out, and they're just going to have impingement on the hip right here. And so, but on the other hand, if someone's cued to just like fucking go really far toes out, then it just facilitates things that are bad, which starting at the floor would be the arches collapse. Look at that compared to this. Arches down, arches up. Arches down, look at the knee, arches up. So it facilitates this position, even though they have lifting shoes on, that can kind of like cover up the Band-Aid, or it's like a Band-Aid covering up the original problem. But this can still happen, and even if they're thinking knees out, the knees still kind of track inward of that toe angle because of that collapsed arch. So that's one problem, and then of course the other problem is that they're not getting the even distribution across the lateral portion of the quadriceps or the hamstrings. So either end of this extreme is not good, and it's dependent on the person's mobility what their toe angle should be if they're going to squat the most efficient. And then of course they should be working constantly to try and improve it so that they can get into the optimal position. But you can't just take guy number 1 and guy number 2 off the street over here. Even if they like sports and they don't care who knows, you can't just take them off the street and throw them into the 10-degree squatting, because that may not be what's efficient for them.